Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Spiritual Sisters podcast. This is Gabrielle Celeste, and we are diving into all things 2025. And Merry Christmas Eve if you are listening to this on the day of release.
We do not take, we haven't taken a week off. Well, we kind of took a week off. We did like a re-release for Halloween, but we're going to bring an episode even for Christmas and New Year's. So we never take days off. Welcome, everybody. Merry Christmas Eve. And we have a returning guest. The beautiful Angelica Ray is back with us to talk all things 2025. Hi, Angelica.
Hello, I'm so excited to be back and for all of the juicy stuff we're going to get into.
I'm so excited to have you back. And I need to post about it on the gram, but I sent a message out last night to my Soul Reading Method group message, letting everybody know that your year ahead readings are beautiful and thorough and that everybody needs to run and get one. So you guys, if you're listening, Angelica, we'll probably get to it later, but I don't want to forget. She does the most amazing year ahead readings, and it was just like beautiful, magical, thorough, and I highly, highly, highly recommend you guys go and get yours. And don't wait too long, because then you might be waiting a little bit longer, because I'm sure people are running like crazy to do these. So go and get yours now.
Can I just add to that? So I had the pleasure of reading for both you and your mother. And I know your mom's going to listen to this. And I was talking to a girlfriend, and I was just like, hey. I think she's going to listen, I'm sure. But I was just like, oh my gosh, like she got it from her mama. Like this is, if this is what we get to look forward to for doing the healing work, if this is what we get to look like as being the healed human being that's in the light, that's in their power, like I want all of it. So I just wanted to say, like, just two beautiful souls. You can't go wrong. Good book with Angelica.
Yes.
Thank you. My mom does not have a booking link, but her life's work is her booking link.
Yeah.
She does this work for everybody in her life. Since I'm spending more time with her now, I'm like, Mom, like you can't just be giving all this away for free all the time. But she does for now. So that's such a beautiful compliment. And I know we were both just really, really enjoyed our sessions with you, Gabrielle, and Nichole. It was so fun to connect with you for your year ahead session. So there's been lots of like one-on-one interaction between the three of us since the last time we recorded together.
There has. I love it. Yeah, I was so looking forward to it, and it did not disappoint. I think I've had that before, where I've been looking forward to something and then I get it and I'm like, oh, okay, well that wasn't what I wanted it to be, and this was not that case.
I mean, you know what I was just thinking? I'm like, Angelica, you're the Virgo to our Cancer. Like Cancer, Virgo, it just seems to match. So I'm just like, oh, I love it. So, and your dad is a Virgo, our dad is a Virgo. So we had this whole little conversation offline. So it's really fun to see all the similarities and whatnot. And we're super excited for this episode because I just feel like we're going to get into it. And I feels like 2025 is such a year. And I cannot wait to hear what you have to say in terms of the themes, of just maybe what we can expect within the collective and so forth.
And then before we jump in, I know we did this on our last episode, so I don't want to go through the whole one, but can you remind us, because I forgot, what your big three are and what your human design is?
Yes. So I am a Virgo sun with a Sagittarius rising and a Cancer moon. I am a 2/4 manifesting generator, and I am completely defined with the exception of my heart ego space. So it's a lot happening in there.
Yeah. I think I'm like all over the place with mine, like undefined, defined, like it's all over the place, but yours is pretty straightforward. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was all that I had. I know I was thinking about it last night. I was like, oh, let me ask a different question since it's been a while since we have recorded, but I can't remember what the question was. So we'll skip it.
We'll come back to it. So, Angelica, shall we get into it? would you just like to dive right in and tell us what we can expect for 2025? Because I have an idea of like what's coming forth from the astrological perspective, and there are some major shifts that we can expect. But I would love to get your interpretation, your predictions, and for you to talk a little bit about that. And I'd be curious as to what you're just seeing and what will come up in conversation, because for me, what I've come to learn is that intuitives are reading what's going on in the sky.
Mm.
And you can kind of look for hotspots, but of course, there are multiple timelines. And I think if 2024 has taught us anything, is that there are just a lot of opportunities to jump timelines as well. And I feel like that has certainly been something that has been a common theme for many. So take it away.
Oh my goodness, so much richness in what you said. The timelines thing is so interesting. To hear that word like enter the layman's kind of like space and like the zeitgeist has been wild. I feel like everyone is talking about timelines, and I'm like, oh, what timeline did we get to that now everyone is aware of the fact that there's multiple timelines? But 2025, so I'll kind of step back a second to say one of the beautiful gifts about getting to do as many year ahead sessions as I do for individuals one-on-one is that after so many, you get to start to see themes and patterns show up for the collective, just kind of based on what all of the individual energy is reflecting. And there's so many directions that we can go. I have like some notes that I've obviously been kind of collecting, but the first thing I'll say is 2025 to me is a big year of creator energy and creative energy. And that kind of spans the gamut. First and foremost, I think it's a reminder that in many ways we are the creator of our own reality. We are the creator of the quote unquote like timeline that we want to live in. And that's showing up as a huge theme. Like, what is the world? What is the experience that you are creating for yourself? And then beyond that is this energy of creative expression. And I think we kind of touched on last time in our conversation all of the AI and kind of like artificial air quotes creation that's happening and what that's going to do to more analog or authentic creation and how those two things interplay. And so I'm seeing a lot of energy come through around how we speak, how we create, how we make art, and what is the value that we place on actual human generated art, human generated thought, human generated creativity across all of the, disciplines, writing, speaking, reading, all of it. I think that's going to be a really interesting theme. So we can start there.
I think I resonate with that because I feel like for me, 2025 is going to be a big year of creation and creativity for me in like different areas. Like, just again, I think we were in a personal year 9 Gabs, right? So now we're going into, is it year 1 or year 0? I don't know.
Year
Is it year
1.
1? I don't know how the numbers work, but we're going to go into like a new number, right? So just kind of like the chance to just like create new and like almost like starting over. And when you were talking about the AI, I saw this. There's this therapist I follow on Instagram, and he had shown like a TikTok that someone posted, like, oh, I wasn't able to continue therapy because of finances. So I went to Chat GPT, right? AI, and I, told it to talk to me as a therapist. And oh my gosh, I don't think I'm ever going to have to go back to therapy. And the therapist that posted it was like, no, like AI cannot replace actual like human connection and empathy and all of those traits that you should have as a therapist and that you like should be getting from your therapist. Like AI can't do that. And so I think AI has its place when it's used properly, but it's not going to be able to like completely replace humans in all areas, especially in something like that where you need that human connection. And one other thing I was thinking was when you're talking about the theme, right? Creativity really being the themes, one of the things that you see. I noticed too, and I wonder if it's the same in, I don't know, like I don't know if you would see it, Gabs, but I know like in therapy, and I've heard other people talk about like in coaching, that they will kind of see the same theme among their clients in like a span of like a week or two. And I remember that would happen to me so often. And I would think, why is this coming up? Like I felt like I was having the same conversation with multiple clients throughout the week and like doing the same interventions and like writing the same note because people were going through the same things at the same time, which I thought was really interesting. So I love that you said you're also kind of seeing that in the readings, that kind of theme across the board.
Yeah, that happens all of the time in one-on-one sessions. It's so common that like just multiple people over the span of a week, or I mean, even over the span of a year, sometimes you can look back and be like, oh, we talked a lot about X, Y, and Z in sessions this year.
Yeah, I don't know if you resonate with this, Angelica, but like sometimes when I see repeating patterns, there's definitely messages for said reader as well within repeating patterns and those sessions. So I have to wonder if that's, um, I mean, obviously something, it's medicine for you, like if you are either the therapist or the reader, but I almost wonder if that's something that's like the common theme within the collective at the time as well. We just don't even know it.
I think all of that applies, like definitely messages and medicine for whoever's holding the space, and then together we're all kind of picking up on similar threads that are happening, interwoven.
Totally. So you and I had also spoken or chatted, I should say, over Instagram DM, and I had posted a story and I said something along the lines of like, it just feels like everyone's realities are shifting within 2024 for whatever's going to happen in 2025. But it also gives me a lot of like hurry. Well, 2024 gave me a lot of hurry up and wait energy. And so I would love to talk a little bit about that and how you think that that's going to come about, or why that is and why we've experienced that theme in 2024 for whatever's coming in 2025 and what you think that might be.
Yeah, I have that one on my notes too. So I love that you remember that. The metaphor that I've been seeing for this kind of like shuffle energy is like pieces on a chessboard, is how it's kind of showing up for me, in terms that people are being moved either metaphorically or literally to the places and spaces that they need to be in position for whatever part they're meant to play in what's about to unfold over 2025 and then in the next year. So there's kind of this sense that we're, a lot of people have moved. Gab, I know you moved. I moved just a few months ago. We kind of think we moved within the span of a month of each other. And I'm seeing that again a lot with clients. Really interestingly enough, these moves feel, and it kind of feeds into another broader theme, but the moves feel really connected to community or like family in some sort of way. Like it's not just a trivial, like, oh, I'm moving across the country to take this job per se, but it's more so like I'm feeling called to this place because my family is there. I'm feeling called to this place because it's a beautiful place to nurture my inner child. And like, I know that my soul is meant to be here for whatever period of time. So more than just like kind of a vapid relocation, there's a genuine being called to a place and a shuffling that's happening so that people are in position either in terms of who they are meant to become or where they are meant to be in preparation.
I have two questions. And we don't get political here, but
Wait, Nichole, wait,
what?
before you say that.
What?
For anyone watching on YouTube, I fucking love when Nichole, she's like, I can see the downloads, I can see her crown chakra working, and she just kind of looks off and she's thinking about what she's going to ask, and then she comes in hot. So if you're on YouTube, please check that out. Brianna, maybe even pull a reel, I don't know.
Okay, so two questions. One is, Gabs, so the collective is going into a year 9? I think are we ahead?
Yeah, we're always a year ahead. You and me, because we're born on the same day.
Okay. Does a collective going into a year 9 kind of like vibe with this theme? Because it almost feels, does it? Okay, because I was like, it almost kind of feels like year 1 type of energy, like starting new. No? Okay.
No, yes. Yeah.
Oh,
I think you're definitely on the money because it's like a weird, obviously like 9 and then 1.
Right.
And then Angelica, I would love for you to speak to this too if you have any, thing to say about that. But like for year 9s, what I know to be true, and I know you and I have experienced this theme in 2024 in our personal year 9s, it's a lot of griefs, endings, new beginnings ish. It's the endings before the new beginnings can come in. And I'm definitely seeing that from an astrological perspective. But I would love, Angelica, for you to speak to that if you have any insight as well.
Yeah, what comes to mind when we talk about year 9 is the tarot and the archetype of the hermit that is reflected by that 9 energy. Obviously, I'm a Virgo sun, so I'm innately equipped with an understanding of that energy. And it has a similar vibe, like this kind of, and we'll talk about this, Gab. You've been mentioning a lot about financial contraction, and we'll talk about that. I'm excited to get into that aspect too, but 9 is to me associated with, it's like a number of contraction. It's a number of hermiting. It's a number of inward kind of like reflection and regathering. And I do see this very interesting contraction happening collectively where people are starting to understand that we don't have a ton of power to like, change on an individual level collective circumstances. Our power is hyper centralized and really localized. And if each of us is owning the power in our immediate sphere in terms of our own energy, who we associate with, how we move through the world, then together, that is where the power comes to create the broader shifts and change that we want. So instead of like an outward in approach, it feels like this year is really asking for an inward out approach where each of us are responsible for ourselves on a deep and like a deeply internal level, and then those shifts and that change begins to permeate and radiate to create the collective waves of change that we are desiring and that I think that we're going to see.
Okay, so I totally resonate with the hermit energy of is the year 9 you said is like hermit energy.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. I feel like that was me all year. The second point I had was just more of like a general question. So there was a lot of, I mean, even we saw it on YouTube. We watch a lot of relocation videos because we would love to relocate out of the country one day. But there was relocation videos, prior to the election, where to move if Kamala wins, where to move if Trump wins. And so there was a lot of discussion about relocation for people if the election didn't go the way they wanted it to. And being that like next year, we're kind of seeing that or that kind of being a theme. Do you think that that is directly related to the fact that like the US did have a pretty big election, or do you think we would have been seeing maybe those themes if we didn't have the election and weren't going into a new administration?
I think that it is bigger than the political sphere, in my opinion. I think all of this is like bigger than the political. I see the political as like a reflection rather than its own force, if that makes sense in a way. And so I think that these themes of shifting and like desire to relocate is more of the epicenter, and then like how it's presenting outwardly is a reflection of that. I would say like for anybody looking to move, it's less about, in my opinion, right, like less about where to go for X, Y, and Z, but it's more about like where do you find community? Where do you see yourself in a position where if you need bread, you can knock on your neighbor's door and get the resources that you need? Where can you be in community where you have something of value to offer that can be bartered and exchanged with? Where can you be where your nervous system is grounded, because our power comes from being in our bodies and in our, with a regulated nervous system? Those are the questions I'm personally asking myself, and that I support clients with asking themselves, because I think a lot is going to change in our world of commerce and enterprise and money. And so asking how to be in community and what it means to be in community is actually the leading question, and where you end up is a byproduct of the answer to that question.
That I feel that really resonates with me because I do think that, I mean, I feel like I also can I have some predictions about 2025. I don't know how comfortable I am sharing them. I probably will in my year ahead workshop, but I do think that we do as a country have some pretty dark days ahead of us. But the point that you said about like leaning into the community and finding light around people that you know can really hold space for you, I think that's going to be huge as well. So I really love that, and that's almost like a download for me to consider too.
Weren't you talking about planes falling out of the sky in 2024 and now you don't want to give predictions? And that did
And
happen,
it did
right? Yeah, it did
happen. Did
happen.
it
But
not happen?
no, it did. That's what I'm saying. Like last year, like planes are going to be falling out of the sky. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to take down the airlines. And then it happened. But now you don't want to make predictions? Like after you made that bold prediction last year?
I mean, I do have some pretty bold predictions too, but I also am just like, do I want to share? And I'm sure that's like a block for me in some capacity, but I don't know. Angelica, please, if you have anything to add so I can deter away from these comments.
It's such a vulnerable thing, right? To be on this side of like sharing predictions, especially in such a charged climate. And to be honest, the more I've deepened into my work, the less value I see in prediction overall. And what I find to be more valuable and what I try to orient my work with, both like for myself and for those that I work with, is who do you want to be as you, if the world is doing whatever the world is going to do, right? Because that's going to happen. Who do you want to be and how do you want to move through that? What is your part to play? That's the centering question for me. So even like in our year ahead session, Nichole, before we got into all of the nitty gritty, that's the thing that we start with, which is like, what do you want to embody? Who do you want to become? And what energy do you want to carry as part of your own medicine through the world? Because I believe that is way more empowering and ultimately more powerful than predictions. Now, of course, we all love predictions. Like, what the fuck? That's like a whole, it's like, like an age old like thing. Humans want to know the secrets. But I try to, I try to like really be mindful of what I'm actually clinging to in the predictive space and instead bring it back to, okay, if I know I'm about to meet the love of my life in this relationship that's for sure coming for me in, the next year or whatever, like, how do I want to show up now? Who do I want to be to meet that when it comes? Or if the world does have dark days, or if the country does have dark days, what is my part to play in how I care for myself and my community and those that I'm supporting as we move through those dark days?
Yeah. And that was one of my favorite parts of your reading. Like we do all love predictions, right? But that first part, I was like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I told you, like, this is so beautiful. I loved it. So I love that you incorporate that into your readings. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, it's because you need to book a reading.
Who needs a marketing budget when you have Nichole?
Call me, guys.
So, okay. We did talk about the financial aspect, or we're going to touch on it, and I definitely want to circle back to that. But what are you most excited about for 2025?
I'm really fucking excited about the fact that people are angry enough to take agency back. Like, people are really stepping into agency in a lot of different ways. And I think that is the most incredible thing to witness. I think women specifically are really starting to evaluate the pills that we've had to swallow, literally, metaphorically, all the things about who we're supposed to be and what's right for us and what we're supposed to do with our bodies and our children and our health and just like across the board. And I think I see a deep empowerment coming online and a willingness to subvert the system in a way that really makes me excited.
Yeah. I feel no, I'm just thinking about it. I feel like I've been doing a lot of reevaluation of things lately in my life, like when it comes to like health and the pills, right? Like making sure that I'm taking the right like supplements and, like just down to those little things. And okay, this is, not very economic, but I know in the long run, this is something that I need to do because what I've been doing the last, 20 years, what we were kind of told to do, what was like trendy to do, like isn't serving us anymore. And like, how can I kind of take control of like my body again? And something very small as that, right? Like, do I want to get the prenatal pills that are $20 or do I want to get the ones that are $80? So
Mhm.
I think, yeah, I've definitely been doing a lot of that. And, what can I do that's maybe more holistic versus, things that are maybe not so healthy for our body that I still love, but that maybe I need to reevaluate.
Do you feel that way about food too, Nichole?
Oh, yeah. And my husband will, like, he's very big on like organic and clean as like much as possible. So sometimes like our grocery bill is pretty high, but it's because the food is a little bit better than it would be if we were shopping at, Winco and just getting, whatever junk they have out there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
I completely agree with you, Angelica, about the agency aspect, and I think that's going to be really excited to watch that evolve over 2025 and hopefully beyond too. And then I did want to circle to the thoughts that you wanted to share about the financial aspect
Mm-hmm.
because so Nichole, the reason, and for listeners out there, the reason I was like, oh, planes are going to fall out of the sky because that tends to be it's not something I want to be right about, but that tends to be a pattern that happens when Jupiter is in Gemini and Jupiter is moving into Cancer in the second half of 2025. And I feel like that's related to the financial aspect of what we're seeing come up
I
as a
just got
reconnection.
goosebumps.
Ooh,
I
okay.
just got goosebumps. So whatever you're on right now, whatever's moving through you, I just like had a full body response to it.
Well, it's interesting because I'm thinking about the US's chart, and well, the US is a Cancer, July 4th. But it's a toxic Cancer, and I'm not saying I'm not saying June and July Cancers are
It's
different,
like
but we're
us.
different. No, honey, we're June Cancers. We're different.
I
So
mean, we're probably still pretty toxic.
probably, but anyways, all this to say, I do keep seeing a good amount of like financial stuff come up, but I really don't see it until the second half of 2025. So I'm curious what you've picked up on or what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah. So one of the things, there's lots of things we can say to this, but the first thing I'll say is that I'm, oh my gosh, I'm like all over the place. Hold on. Let me focus all this down. There's like all these things happening at once. Um, Again, I'll come back to this idea that like these top down hierarchical structures, I don't think I said this yet, but I've been talking about this for a couple years, that these pyramids that we've created in society are being reorganized and rearranged to be more like webs and less like pyramids. Um, and in that is a redesign of our economic systems and enterprise and how we exchange money, how we exchange resources, how we exchange value. And one of the things that's like happening so much is I'm seeing a lot of clients come to me, and even I've had this experience personally, is feeling like whatever financial situation or contraction we're experiencing is like an individual problem. And so it's like a tool um, of the powers that be, a tool of the system to ask people to find individual solutions or feel like there's individual failure for what is actually a collective and systemic issue. And the economic experience that we're in right now and what we're seeing is a collective and systemic issue. But instead of addressing it as such, it's been made to look like an individual problem. Well, you're not working hard enough, or you're buying too many lattes, or X, Y, and Z. And I think our generation particularly is looking at like, we did all of the things that we were supposed to do, right? We did all of the things that our parents and grandparents did and more. And yet we're in a position where we're struggling a lot financially. And many people are, having to make really tough decisions around, how they're going to grow their families, where they're going to live, what bills they're going to pay. And there's a certain disenfranchisement of spirit that comes online when people are in situations that their own willpower, I'm going to use quotes, cannot get them out of. But it's not an individual failure, it's a collective failure. I'll pause there. But that's kind of like, I guess I would consider that to be like the root of the problem. And then maybe we can have a dialogue. I'm curious, Gabby, what you've been seeing around how we work that out in terms of solutions collectively.
Yeah, I'm going to pause and then pivot to Nichole and then come back to that because it looked like she was getting a download such question. And I think everything you just said just resonates so deeply because, Nichole and I have chatted and have made comments about like our frustrations. And Nichole, because she's 9 years older than me, but so she's obviously had more life experience, but she said the exact thing that you have said, where it's like, I did everything I was supposed to fucking do. And I'm still not in a negative financial position, but it's frustrating because the system really has let not just us down, but the collective down. So there definitely is some change that's coming, and I see that too. But I want to pivot to Nichole first.
No, it wasn't a question. It was just an observation because I think we spoke about that too in my reading, Angelica, right? It's like, we were sold this lie, or not even a lie, but just this dream and, independent women and boss babe. And it's like, we're tired. We didn't want to do any of that. And we did all the things that we were supposed to do. And why aren't we living the lives that our maybe grandparents lived a long time ago, And I saw this statistic and it was talking about how, back in the 50s or 60s, whenever, a long time ago, that a household could survive off of 30,000, 50,000, and purchase a home and do all these things, and was saying how the home prices have gone up astronomically, but the incomes haven't, and so that's why it's not possible for us to have the same kind of lifestyles that we were told we could have if we did all those things that they did. And now we're just miserable because we're stuck in these jobs that we don't want to be in, for those of us that are doing that, because we were told that that would be kind of like our ticket to the American dream. And it's like, this is dumb.
Yep. I don't know that I have much to add to that point, but you did ask about what I've been seeing, and something that I have been seeing a lot again in the second half of 2025 is a lot more relocation. And again, the link that we had spoken to about being in year 9, so the collective is in a year 9, and that being like a theme for moving and relocating. But I almost wonder if that has to do with just people being in a financial position to purchase homes or to relocate, because I've been seeing a lot of my clients moving into new spaces and purchasing homes in my sessions. So I wonder if that's something you've been picking up on with respect to the finances in the country.
Ooh, I love that. I would ask the question, like, where are people going? Right. And to me, the through line there is like people are going to places where, number one, they can afford to go, where there's more opportunity for leverage in the market, in the home buying space. And then also to places where, they're able to create the type of community and the type of living and lifestyle that really suits their needs. So to me, that could look like a massive kind of reshuffling, maybe related to the political climate, maybe not, around where people decide to create a home space for themselves.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nichole.
No, we've been looking at Spain for years because it has that kind of infrastructure built to where you don't need a car, you don't need all of these things that we need here, because they're set up in little neighborhoods. You walk 3 minutes and you're at the grocery store. You walk 1 minute and you're getting your coffee. 5 minutes down the road is a school or a park, or if not, the schools are all set up to where they provide the transportation, and it's really built around like the family life. And we just don't have that. I wonder if New York kind of has that, right? I feel like back east, because that was kind of like the original, like England, right? New England. I wonder if that has more of that kind of infrastructure built in, where you don't need all of the things that maybe we need here in California, because public transportation is better and the neighborhoods are just built differently. But I think for us, we are looking to where we can do those things and live a decent life. And I think we found yesterday you can get like a non-lucrative visa for, I think, and there's different ways you can do it, but it's like you need to have $30,000 in savings to show them that this is what I'm going to live off of. Because you can live a pretty decent life on just that amount of money over there. Like you can't do that here.
Mm.
You can't even really do that on, with six figures, I feel like.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I have such an interest in Spain. My hope is to be able to travel there this year. It's like high on my radar for a lot of those reasons. And there's definitely something about the energy there and just in like Europe in general that feels really magnetic right now. I think maybe there's things that granted, I'm sure they have plenty of their own issues, but I think there's certain things about lifestyle and culture that they have figured out that we've definitely lost sight of here in America.
I don't even know if we've lost sight of it. I just think that we're such a new baby country and Europe's been around forever that they just have it figured out, and eventually maybe it'll trickle over, but I think it's going to take a long time. But we're such a baby country, and I think we're such a narcissistic country that we think that we know better, even though, Europe's been doing it for a lot longer than we have. And it's like, they're kind of onto something.
Not Nichole, a Cancer, calling out a country that is a Cancer.
Call it
Go
like
ahead.
I see it.
No,
well, because the shadow side of that Cancer energy is like hyper individualistic, hyper like protectionary, right? Like just very bordered and boundaried and yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, what do you think? So, if we were to meet a year from now and we're going to look back and reflect on 2025, what do you think one positive outcome is of all of the change that we're energetically speaking to right now?
I love that.
That's a great question. I think I see everything through the lens of people remembering what they're made of and made for. That's like my bedrock of how I live my life, the work that I do. What are we made of? What are we made for? And I see that being the positive outcome is people remembering their own individual essence, who they are, their values, what's important to them, and how they want to live that out in a world that gets to the benefit of their uniqueness, that gets the benefit of them doing good, quote unquote, work, whatever that means. So I think all of these changes are causing people to ask really important questions of themselves. And ultimately, the result of that, hopefully, is an answer that creates someone that's doing something that's bigger than themselves in whatever way that might look.
I think that's so beautiful, and I love that as well. And that's actually something that I do think, and I feel like the community aspect that you spoke to is definitely going to play a role in this. Something I have picked up on, and I'm curious if you both have seen that within your circles and within your communities of just people you know, whether it's on Instagram or your friends, family, etc. If you've just noticed that they're curious or inspired and feeling confident and brave to actually do more for themselves, whether that's the healing, whether that's leaning into potentially finding new work opportunities that are more empowering, questioning the systems that they're supporting, the patriarchy, because I definitely feel like certainly within my family, certainly within at least my Instagram following, that I can sense that people are very curious and are inspired and are feeling the collective shift. And I definitely feel like that's just something that's very much intended to happen. So I'm curious if you've noticed that as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to Queen Mom a couple days ago about this, and we kind of like lovingly joke that she is kind of a magnet for people who are finding their path in some way or another, particularly like women in all different ages. They just kind of like gravitate toward her. And we were chatting about the fact that it seems like there's another wave coming online right now. Like, I think that it's kind of been in waves, but there's something about the women that I'm seeing right now feel this is going to sound so bad. Please don't judge me. Like, I hope you know my heart, but it's like very like normies, like people who like would have seemed so far away from this like spiritual and like seeking space and intuitive space. The people who I'm like, never in my lifetime will I see this person like wake up, you know, because they're kind of so far from that, starting to wake up. And the first part of waking up is asking questions. And so I'm seeing that like curiosity or like, this is really uncomfortable. Why does this feel so uncomfortable? Like that, and that's kind of beginning this new groundswell. Oh my God, we're going to go on a tangent. Quick left, which is like why also I think those of us in the spiritual space who are steeped in the work, I think we're going to see and have seen a lot of people who were in it for the wrong reasons continue to fall away and just kind of like, you know, it's like they can't, whatever, it was like here for their season, and maybe they were going through their own journey and thought that part of their journey was to teach and to lead and to guide, but they're realizing maybe that they weren't built for that or that's like not part of their phase going forward. So they're falling away, which is like in this really interesting way creating a lot of space for those of us who know that this is like our life's work and such a huge part of it to really step up and lead in a new way, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, that's actually something I can totally see and agree with. I totally agree with you about, on that, about people falling away that aren't meant to do the work and are in it for the wrong reasons. Because yeah, for self-serving reasons, I guess. And I love that the energy is shifting for the better, and creating space for just more internal growth. And we're going to see a lot of that in 2025. So yeah, love that.
I think to answer your question, Gabs, I personally don't think I see a lot of it in my own like circle of friends. I think I see more of like the people wanting to grow and evolve in spaces that I'm purposely putting myself in. So, like, if I look at, maybe the friends around me that I've had, forever, I kind of see them not there, not wanting to do it and not thinking that they can, or just not, I don't know what it is, but I don't see a lot of growth there. But, like, in, for example, the certification course I'm in, right? Those are all people that want to grow. And if I think to other courses I've taken in the past, those are all people that want to grow, and those are all people that want to do the work. And so I feel most inspired when I'm in a container like that, because I don't feel like I get a lot of that in my own personal circle.
Yeah, and that's hard to be around.
Hmm.
It's really hard to be around because you're the thought leader and the lead in changing that. So maybe is that what you were kind of seeing, Angelica, is more just like leaders within like their own communities, like paving the way so they could influence the normies, respectfully.
Absolutely, yeah. And just like being able to reach back to people who are just where you were like a year ago or 2 years ago, right? And just being so close in proximity, not you per se, Nichole, but just in general, like being so close in proximity to that experience that someone who's like brand new to the space could relate a lot better to someone being excited to learn about a spirit guide than like I could, right? So it's like we need these like constant waves because there's something about the proximity of the lessons and the learnings that make it more accessible to someone who's just starting out.
Yeah, and that in turn creates a lot of opportunities for those that are healers are in the space, are in it for the right reasons. So I'm excited to see what the landscape at the end of 2025 looks like. And I know we spoke about this at the beginning, what the landscape of the industry that is that of healers that we're a part of, what that's going to look like in combination with AI. Because AI being involved, and even I was watching this reel the other day, and it was like content, social media predictions of what we can expect and what's going to gain popularity. And one of them was storytelling, YouTube is going to make a rise again, and then AI integrations. And the audience that it was targeting was very much that of like, the healers, the wellness space. So that's going to be really interesting to reflect back on literally like a year from now. So
One thing that I think we have going for us is humans are energy emitters. Like we can emit an energy, we can emit a frequency in a way that I don't believe that AI will ever be capable of, right? Like it's hollow. So yes, intellectually, it might sound good on paper. It might be the quote unquote right answer, kind of harkening back to what Nichole was saying at the beginning. But at the end of the day, AI will never be able to emit a frequency or a transmission in the way that a human vessel and a human energy system is able to. And you'll be able to tell.
Totally.
So when you were talking about earlier, excuse me, when you were talking about earlier that like people that maybe came in the space are kind of like slowly dropping off, maybe the ones that weren't there for the right reason. Somebody texted in the group message today from my cohort asking if anyone is noticing more different energies with people you thought were one thing and now the energy is different, like the veil has been lifted. I notice as I go deeper into practice that I find there's some things falling away that once were, and it feels like isolating, but at the same time, I can't unsee or unfeel or ignore what I'm noticing either. And I feel like that's kind of what you're talking about, right? Like maybe people falling off or like, really kind of seeing people for who they are and what they are. So I thought that was interesting because that came in this morning.
Yeah, I think it goes back to our first conversation. We talked a lot about frequency and energy and being able to feel with your system what is in alignment and what is not. And the forgiving or more charitable perspective on this is just that like we um we grow in and out of alignment with things like branches on a tree. At some point we were the same branch, and then there's divergence, right? And so that is its own variety of growth and evolution, and we can just simply say like our energies have diverted or we're growing in a different way. The less charitable view is like something is inauthentic or intentionally misleading or harmful or disingenuous. And now that has been revealed and kind of can't be unseen. So maybe both things exist.
I feel like that's one of our superpowers is like noticing something that is like very inauthentic, or I don't know, like there's just certain people that I know I don't vibe with because they're fake. And I have such a hard time being fake. Like if I don't like you, I don't like you. If I don't like something, I don't like it. And there's like really no pretending. So for me, when I see or sense something that kind of feels like off or harmful or inauthentic, I'm like, mm-mm, don't like any of this. There was some Instagram page I was following, and she has so many followers. And I was like, I hate everything about this. This is awful. This is harmful. This is just everything about it like gave me the ick. And I had to like unfollow for my peace of mind. But I'm like, how did more people like not see it? It's just because they don't want to, because they're in such a desperate place in their life. And that's like what she kind of feeds off of. And yeah, it's just so hard. It's so hard for me to be around something that's like inauthentic. It like drives me crazy.
I could not agree more. Maybe it's like the cancer in us or something like that. It's just like that deep attunement to what is aligned and what's not. But I also have had that experience where like I really loved and admired and respected someone at a period of time, right, in my life when they resonated with me. And then like 6 months down the line or a year down the line, I'm like, oh, mute or unfollow or whatever. Cause it's like, it's ick. And it's like, did the energy behind that thing change, or did I evolve in a way that um, it's no longer like serving me. So
Yeah, that's a good question to kind of think about, right? Did they change or did I change?
mm,
Or is it a little bit of both?
most likely.
Yeah, it's hard to say sometimes.
Okay, so I think this might be one of my final questions. So we've talked a lot, or at least I feel like I've maybe seen this on Instagram, or maybe I'm just going off of what I've seen based off of what the planets are doing. I'm not really sure where it's stemming from, but yesterday I came across a really funny meme, and I did not fact check this, but I was like, well, I'm sure you can quickly check on your phone. So it was something to the effect of like the first 3 days of 2020 were Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what the fuck? And then it's the same for 2025, which is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what the fuck, I guess. So I would be really curious if you energetically have picked up on similarities, and similarities could very well just be the change, because, we know 2020 was such a huge change. If 2025 is going to be obviously not the same, bring the same type of outcomes and experiences, but will have the energetic impact that 2020 did.
That is accurate. WTF for both those years.
Feels on brand. It tracks, yeah, for sure. I've been feeling a lot of 2020 energy around 2025. Again, I don't know exactly why or what that's about. I know all of my astrology friends say that like all of the outer planets are changing signs, and it's just like another year of massive change. And that feels very, again, external to me. Like, and that's kind of why I was coming back to control what we can control on an individual level, because maybe that's what I'm picking up is like just the external conditions, collective conditions are going to change radically. So the thing that we have control over is ourselves, but it tracks.
Yeah. If you had to describe 2025 in one word, what would it be and why?
Oh God. Have we met? Do you know that I don't have a one word anything in my repertoire?
Girl, I had to put, okay, so I'm doing a lot of inner child work right now, right? I'm going to speak to this at some point, I'm sure. I had to chat GPT because I literally was like, I want this, and this. What is one word to describe what I am desiring that is in aligned with my values, my code, my state of being, my authenticity? And the word that came up, it was so fitting. And I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. And the word is fulfillment. So I had to chat GPT that because I could not have come up on that on my own unless, I had put some really serious thoughts and some time behind it. But yeah, I do think that it is hard to narrow it down to one word, but I would love your summary.
If I have to try it, the word that's coming forward is dual, DUAL, dual. And I just think that's because there's going to be like a lot of contrast and a lot of holding opposing truths simultaneously and expanding to hold the reality of these opposing truths simultaneously. And I think that's what I've got. I would say like it's going to be a year of like dual or duality.
Ooh, okay. That brought me to Nichole. I would love your thoughts on this. Do you guys know Dolores Cannon, where she was talking about like there's literally like two states of being where like there's going to be the unconscious and the conscious, literally people within the collective, and that literally brought me back to that prediction that she had.
Ooh.
Love her.
Yeah, that feels like yeah.
Yeah, love it. Oh, this is so good. Nichole, do you have questions?
Nope.
Angelica, is there anything that you would like to leave us with? This was fun. I'm just like, I'm super excited to just even like 365 days from now to see what transpires and where we're at.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I wish we could. It's actually how we start these year ahead sessions is like if we were looking back over the course of the year. And I wonder too. I would just say like for what it's worth, and this is not my nature like at all. I really am a realist and a pragmatist in a lot of ways, I think, but I'm really hopeful. And that sounds weird to say, but I feel really inspired by the people that I'm connecting with right now. I feel really inspired and hopeful because just who and what is out there, like who we are. And when I say we, I mean women like the two of you and all of the people that you're impacting, and just so many of us asking really big questions and doing really big work within ourselves and in an immediate way is really going to create ripples of change. I believe that deeply. So I hope that comes to pass.
Yeah, I love that. And I also think that it speaks to your energy because I remember this one guy back from my college days. I don't know how it came up in conversation, but he's like, you choose your friends. Mm-hmm. And it's so true that like the people around you, the environments that you're in, your reality is truly a reflection of your own energy. So I think that really just speaks to like the work that you've put in and the capacity that you have to hold space for people. So all this to say, go book your year ahead reading with Angelica. She is very much of the light and she has such a big heart. She's got that Cancer moon, guys. Nichole loved her reading with her. I am going to have mine at the end of probably December. I'm excited for it. And yeah, just check out her page. It's really beautiful. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, just check out the background. Like she is an artiste in her own form and right.
Yeah, the painting in the background is by an artist named Jeremy Brown, and his work is absolutely incredible. And then it's like layers of acrylic and all different textures, and it's coated. So like he basically creates transmissions in his work. I'm basically obsessed with like everything he creates. Super soulful, so beautiful messages. Yeah.
Love it. Angelica, where can people find you? Where can they book with you? And would you be so kind as to do a card pull for us that is reflective of the year ahead that is 2025?
Yes. So you can find me www.angelicaray.com. So my website, which at some point very soon is going to be relaunched. I've been working behind the scenes to update it, so I cannot wait to share that. But in the meantime, you can get to everything that you need through that homepage. You can also find me on Instagram at Angelica Ray, and send me a DM, send me a message, send me an email. Like individual connection, one-on-one connection is my favorite way to connect. So I'll respond, I'll answer, we can chat, all the things. And you can also book sessions on both of those two places and spaces. And then I was working with this deck. I'll show it. It's called the Soul's Journey deck. And it's like each deck has like a theme or a word. Oh, wonderful. Love that for us. So we'll use this to kind of see what comes forward for anybody who is here and listening and has a message to receive about the energy of 2025 and who they become within it and how they contribute to our collective elevation and evolution. Forgiveness, right? So it says, I acknowledge that harboring resentment blocks the flow of love. And that comes back to the dual nature of things that I was speaking to, which is that's a tool of separation. So
I literally told about this last night.
Nichole called out.
And Nichole feels personally victimized by.
I think you need to
reshuffle.
Okay, well, you could just say that 2025 is the year of dual, so two realities, two things can be true at the same time. So if you were to shuffle, that would be valid.
Okay. Do you want me to? I can do it. Okay, I'll do another one. But I do like the tie-in of forgiveness and just like, yeah, I think there's something valuable there. But for Nichole's sake, we will shuffle again.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
It's gonna come up again.
Imagination. Imagination.
Oh, I love that one.
That's the creator energy. In case hello. She knows what she's doing, folks. Imagination. I embrace and nourish the creative aspect of my mind. So, yeah, we create the reality we exist in.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. Those are both really good cards, I think.
And it's just reflective of the taste that you could get if and when you book a reading with Angelica. And you know what? I don't know if I said this in the last recording we did, but you and I had connected maybe like a year and a half ago, and you had sent out, I think it was a recording for like year ahead predictions, themes. It was something that you offered. I don't know if it's still something you offered then, but I really loved that. And it was very on point. And you guys can also sign up for her newsletter and get a free meditation and just take advantage of that, guys. And I've definitely directed some of my sitters/clients to that meditation, and they really loved it.
Thank you. Yeah, the daily energy practice. It's a beautiful practice to help you get cleansed and cleared and refocused and grounded. It's great when the days like you're feeling off and you're like, I just feel off and I need someone else to support me through this process of getting back in line. That's the energy that guided meditation is infused with. So
we love it. Well, Angelica, you are welcome anytime. Thank you for your time. And it's so lovely to connect with you and your beautiful mother and just know you.
Same. Thank you for having me. Such a joy.
Thanks for doing this again. Maybe we'll do it 2025 for 2026. We'll see.
Until next time, Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.